Hey, this is Nate again with Nonessential Media. Thanks for joining us for another episode of We the Fandom. Just a reminder advisory, this show's topics are safe for most ages, but the show is unscripted, so we wanted to issue another general warning just in case you are listening with small children or professional setting. Enjoy this episode. Alright everybody, welcome back to We the Fandom, and here be monsters. We're talking creature features. So, Cheyenne, as my wonderful co-host as always, you suggested this topic. What made you want to talk about monsters?
The fact that all of the Tremors movies were available on Netflix. I literally saw that and I was like, that would be a great topic for the podcast.
And it's something we haven't touched on yet. We talked about, like...
Hunters. Yeah, which are some monsters, but not...
true monsters.
Yeah.
And I love the graboids. Gotta love some graboids. That movie does a really good job, too, the first time you watch it, where it teases you with the little ones.
Right, yeah, the tentacle
things from
the...
The little sock puppet-looking tentacles. Love those things. And then the full reveal that those are just its tongues.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie.
It was, yes. I mean, all things considered.
Kevin Bacon's best work by far. Footloose, get out of here. It's Tremors. My brain's struggling to think of any other Kevin Bacon movies.
The one, Invisible Man.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was in that.
What was there was another one where he is seeing a ghost, and it's like this girl that was killed in his house when it was being refinished.
Oh, well, anyone listening, if you know what it is, tweet it at me, and I'll probably watch it.
It was a good movie. It was. But yeah, it was a more serious role for Kevin Bacon than, like, especially when you compare it to Tremors.
I don't know what you're talking about. Valentine is the character I base my life off of. Yes, no. God bless Tremors. I just want to take a moment and say, for the wackiest monster designs I can think of, they're like, all right, we got a land shark. Oh, we can't call it Land Shark anymore because Saturday Night Live used that title. We'll call it Tremors, I guess. And then they come around for the next one. They're like, all right, we got to make the Tremors new again. How do we do it? Oh, I know. We'll have them not have anything to do with the ground anymore as they birth their little... I forget what the title for the second evolution is. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts.
I know watched the third it, too.
One. I know the third one.
I watched that one again. Oh my gosh.
I don't know the name of the third one.
Yeah, no, that was terrible. I forgot how terrible it was until I watched it again.
It's so good. It's bad.
It was just bad.
It's bad. It's good. It's amazing.
It was so bad. I don't think they ever really...
Did they not name them? I thought there was an official designation. But
there might be, but...
Someone will comment.
And the thing is, they don't even really birth them. They just kind of... It's like a parasitic, explosion.
Yeah.
Because they just... The graboids die when the smaller ones...
Yeah, the graboids really get the short end of the stick on that one.
Yeah, as the next evolution with their little, flaps, then the heat-seeking. Which magically doesn't work through... any material, which makes no sense.
It's such a worse evolution. I can't imagine. But then we have the best evolution that comes in the third movie, the ass blasters. Yes!
But see, that was one thing I noticed too. That at one point, Bert and Chang and some other character, and the other character, they use a mattress to hide themselves. Mm-hmm. Again, would not deflect your heat.
No.
Living in a desert, yes, they would probably not be able to see you as well, but a mattress is not going to shield you from anything heat related.
No.
It's so terrible.
I'll never unsee the mental image of the ass blaster getting ready to take off, and it's shaking its butt a little bit as it's getting ready to go.
Like a cat getting ready to pounce.
Yeah, I'll never unsee that, and it's amazing.
It was terrible. I don't know what you're talking about.
Just, Beautiful.
But other than Tremors, what about you, Nate? Do you have any other monster movies that you enjoy?
Because there's so many. If we're talking specifically inhuman monsters, because there's so many movie monsters that are like it's a hybrid or something like that,
right?
Or it has motivation. But if we're talking purely animalistic. I mean, the xenomorph is an obvious, easy one.
Oh, yes, of
How
course.
much lip service Alien gets in this podcast.
Yeah, we're a little biased on that.
Yeah, definitely a little biased. Just a little bit. But we're willing to poke fun at the things that don't work in the franchise.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, I mean, we can always go Godzilla.
Oh, of course.
The original... or the originals, or the one from the 90s, or, of course, the more recent ones, which...
the one from the 90s, oof.
I mean, if you just take it as
That's
a monster movie, you just take it as a monster movie, instead of, like, a character with, like, history and all of that, it's like taking the Fantastic Four reboot that they...
Fan Four Stick.
Yeah. If you just take it on face value that it doesn't have that there's nothing else behind it, then it's not bad.
Oh man, that 90s Godzilla is a retcon in the making. Just the thought of it, I'm like, oh my god, yes. I want to retcon that movie so bad. Let's keep that one in the back burner.
Kong.
Really
any King Kong, He's, again, there's one that I really enjoyed, Monsters from 2010.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting movie.
It was, yes. So, I loved that one. Cloverfield. All of the Cloverfield movies.
The found footage film that I've mentioned before, Troll Hunter, is another one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So I was looking. Of course, you got, like, everything from, like, the black and white...
Yeah, the classic movie monsters, Creature of the Black Lagoon, and
The Blob,
yeah,
Gremlins. You could totally count Gremlins as
the best Christmas movie, short of Die Hard.
A Quiet Place.
Yes, you know what? I actually haven't seen A Quiet Place yet.
I enjoyed it. I feel like they could have played on the fact that, on the whole sound thing a little more, had more, like, quiet scenes where, like, the essential, you can hear a pin drop kind of situation. Yeah. I felt they could have played on that more, but
silence is definitely...
Hopefully they're going to go with that more in the second one.
Yeah.
Yes,
they just dropped the trailer for that not too long ago.
Yes.
Definitely silence is something in a horror movie. Sound in a horror movie is such a huge factor that with a story that's about silence, you really can't drop the ball on that one.
Yeah, and I feel like that was definitely something they could have played more on, had more, like, absolutely silent areas where then they, you could hear all the tiny sounds, because there was a movie, Hush, where the main character is deaf and she's being, she's stuck in her house being chased by this psycho who wants to murder her for reasons that we don't truly understand. There's this scene where you are as the character, so you don't hear anything. And, there's something coming from above her head. It's the bad guy, but I don't remember the exact details. But it was the quiet, just like, you knew something was going to happen, but you don't know what.
That reminds me as well, there was another movie, I think Sam Raimi was attached in some way. I can't remember the name of it. It's going to drive me nuts. But it was about 3 kids who break into, like, a blind veterans home.
Oh, yeah.
And he can't see them, so he's hunting them by sound.
Yeah.
And there were some really tense moments of that movie where every sound matters. And, like, the whole movie just goes completely dead. And they're trying to, like, limit their breathing so that he can't hear them.
Right.
And they're trying to make sure they don't make any noise. It was such a good movie.
Yeah, and that, I feel like maybe that was why they didn't do as much of it, was because that movie had come out recently before The Quiet Place.
Maybe.
So maybe they were trying to distinguish themselves, but I feel like that could have been, a bit more.
They do have an opportunity to touch on that again with the sequel coming out.
They do. I'm also liking that they're going to be doing more about how it started, because that is one thing that bugged me, because I like the beginnings of things, especially things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, which actually makes me think of a movie that I watched, Stephanie. It's about this little girl who is alone in her house, and there's something clearly that's terrifying her, and there's like claw marks and random other things around the house that you don't quite understand what's going on. Mm. But I thought it was a great movie. Like, you later find out it's because her mom had been attacked, and then we find out that it's not a monster so much of as a manifestation of the little girl.
Oh, I like that.
No, it was really well done, because I kind of went into it not expecting much, but by the end I was like, that was really good. So, but that was another one where, like, they don't really tell you, like, you don't have the beginning. Yeah. You come in the middle where you got this little girl alone, and you have random interactions with what we believe is some sort of monster, and then we get more explanation after her parents come home and all of that. So it was a good one.
Gotcha. Talking about this reminds me of the short story, but also later the film adaptation of Stephen King's The Mist.
Yes.
Which involves a group of people who are trapped in a supermarket when their town gets sort of engulfed in a supernatural mist, and then monsters, it's implied, from another dimension invade. Yes. And they have to not only survive the creatures, murderous creatures,
but themselves.
Yes, but their own quickly fracturing and
disintegrating social order that they kind of got going on. Yeah.
Words are not coming to me. It's not good in a podcast.
Not really. No. No, my only complaint with that movie was the end.
Super downer ending. That's not how the story ends at all.
Yeah, it's far too ironic for Stephen King.
Yeah, that's not how... I've read the story first before I saw the movie.
Right.
And that's not how the story ends in...
No.
It's not a super positive ending.
Right, but it's not so but it's not terrible.
Like so horrifyingly dark that you can't help but chuckle for a second because you're like, did that... What? No.
Yeah, no, that was so I hadn't read the story, but even just sitting in the theater after it was over, I'm like, I can tell you right now, that is not out. That is too ironic to be Stephen King. Yeah. So, yeah, I understand that one completely.
On the same vein, I can think of his terrible 80s film, and not as terrible, but still pretty bad story it's based off of, Maximum Overdrive and Trucks.
Oh my god.
Which is the original story it's based off of. I love that he took a story of his own with just the simple name of Trucks. And he's like, we're going to make it into a movie? Give it a dumber name. That whole story and that movie, my gosh.
Yeah, no, that one was, Life.
Oh, yeah, on the space station. I forgot all about that movie.
I did too. I was just looking for some more examples, and it popped up, and I was like, oh, yeah. It was a good movie, though, too, is the worst part, is that I completely forgot it existed.
I really loved, in the lead up to that movie, there are some people who were pitching that it was a prequel to Venom.
Yes.
And then I watched the movie all the way through it. I got to the end, and I was like, you know what? This could have been.
It really could have, yeah. It totally had that possibility, what with the way it was. The Thing.
Oh, Carpenter's The Thing?
Carpenter's The Thing!
Oh my god, why did my brain not immediately go to that one? That's such a good movie.
It was such a good movie. I love that.
In my mind, it's one of those movies, to me it stands equally to Kubrick's The Shining. Right. And everyone might not agree with me on that. But as far as, it's a horror movie I walked away from with so many more questions.
Right.
And I've spent years
of
my
good
life.
questions, not bad questions.
Not like, why did this movie get made? But you get to the final scene and you're like, is either one of them the thing?
Right.
Because it can't be both of them, because then it would be, why would they be staring at each other? Is one of them infected? It was not. So, there's so many fan theories, like McCready's bottle that he hands over is filled with petrol or something like that. Right.
Yeah, no, that one it's a lot of really great... Yeah.
And I'm so sad they tried to make a terrible prequel to that movie.
I didn't think it was terrible.
I've seen some of the effects from the movie, though.
Okay, yes.
I'll give credit that I've never sat down and watched the full prequel, but I saw enough clips of it that I was like, ooh.
The storyline was pretty good because it kind of explains like the finding and like what happened at the
original site.
Yeah, because I can't remember.
Was it the
what nation? Swedish?
Yeah, something.
Or
it doesn't matter. They're all dead.
They are all dead. But yeah, that was I personally I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, and they kept it in the same style since it is supposed to be a prequel. You go walk like the beginning, you're not 100% sure if you're watching the original The Thing or if you're watching the prequel. Like, I remember the first time I was watching it with some friends, and we kind of all looked at the one who had picked it from the list, and we were like, are you sure you picked the right one? Because the way the opening is,
it's shot with
the title and all of that, yeah, you feel like you're walking into the original The Thing. So I enjoyed that part of it, at least.
With Carpenter on my brain, that also reminds me of oh my goodness, I can't remember. Hold on, give me just one moment. I can't remember the name of it. It's one of his films that was, I feel like, partially inspired by Stephen King, partially inspired by Lovecraft.
Okay.
I saw it after hearing someone suggest it, and I was so surprised by how much I enjoyed it. Oh, there it is. In the Mouth of Madness.
Okay.
And it's one where I can't remember what his actual job is. I think it's like an investigator.
Okay.
Is hired by a book company to go locate their mysterious writer who has ventured off to this small town right before his book is about to launch. It's expected to be like this huge seller. He's a big horror author. He's got like diehard fans who are clamoring for this book, but they need to go find him because he's sort of disappeared.
Okay.
And he goes on this journey with another executive from the publishing house, and it slowly unravels into this Lovecraftian nightmare.
Okay.
To where it gets to the point where you're like, the movie seems to hint that the main character is just another character in the book.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And there's a whole ending sequence where like half the town are mutated into like Lovecraftian nightmares. And he has to like run through like a ripped page in the book in order to escape.
Okay.
And there's monsters chasing him. It was very surreal and good, and it took its time getting to just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I have seen that. Maybe not all of it, because the whole ripped page part doesn't seem familiar to me. But everything else that you're saying is very familiar to me.
I'm trying to remember who the main actor is. He was the same gentleman from... It was Sam Neill.
Okay, yes!
From Jurassic Park fame.
Yes, okay. I do know what you are talking about. Yes, I have seen it, and it was good. Yes. I mean, most of it. Ooh, here's one that I Lake Placid.
Oh, you get into all of Anaconda, Jaws. Why didn't I think of Jaws?
I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's from 1997, The Relic.
The Relic? I don't think I've ever seen it.
Okay, it was something else. So, let's see. So, a murder, we start out in, like, the jungles of some undeveloped country. Don't know exactly where. Weird ritual is taking place. Scientists, like, maybe like an anthropologist or something is there. Drinks something that you... Because of the way they focus on it as they're making it, of course you feel like probably something weird is gonna happen.
Certainly not chocolate milk is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And so, and then there's a ship, so it's like he's sending stuff back, like what, treasures and relics that they allowed him to, that the tribe that he was observing allowed him to send back.
Yeah.
And they're being sent to a museum. And on the ship, there is murders. Like, no one's left when it docks.
So it's sort of like the whole, like, Dracula on the ship to London kind of deal, where the ship gets to the harbor and then they're like, hey, and they go inside and everyone's dead.
yeah, exactly. Except there's no bodies. It's just, there's nothing. And then murders start happening. I think it was in New York or something. And it turns out that, and like this huge creature is seen. And then he attacks like this benefit, a gala at the museum kind of thing. And it's this weird amalgamation of like traits of different animals that's based off of something in the leaves that were sent back, and like it mutated DNA or something. I don't remember exactly.
God bless the weird plots we get out of horror movies,
especially in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh God bless the 90s for their weird movies.
I mean, but all things considered, like it's very original take on like the origin of a monster and all of that. It was I enjoyed it. It's also like one of those movies that you watched so many times when you're younger that to you it's just like classic kind of childhood thing.
Yeah, I will say that about the incessant popularity of monster movies, as well as slashers and other horror movies coming out of the 80s into the 90s, really pushed creativity.
Yes.
Both in good and negative ways.
Oh,
but you
yes.
cannot say that people weren't trying new things at the time.
Definitely not. Yeah, they were definitely trying.
So we've
for lack of a better word.
We've listed plenty of examples. Why do we like creature feature movies? I think there's the obvious answer that monsters are fun.
Monsters are fun because you never really know what direction the monster movie is going to take.
True.
Which makes me think of the movie The Monster, about the mom and her daughter who are driving to
was it The Monster or was it just Monster? I thought it was just Monster.
Was it Monster? It was just Monster. That was a good one. But yeah, it's all the unexpected because you never know. I mean, sometimes you do. Sometimes they're very obvious.
Some movies are very, very telegraphed.
But then other times, like, you never know really what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, in The Quiet Place with the hearing aid. Mm-hmm. Or the cochlear implant that they're trying to get to work. You know, having that affect at the certain frequency affects how the creatures are, you know, have it hurt them. You know, the thing, what is it? Especially the original, like, you don't know, you're walking into it, you have no idea what's going on until...
And you relate very much to the characters, who are very much like, we don't know what's going on either.
Yeah.
That was a dog 5 minutes ago.
His head just detached from his burning body.
Oh my God, I love that with the eye stalks. I also think a good reason we love creature features is that you don't have to think too hard with a monster like that. Instead of like, you know, a vampire or something like that.
Right.
Where you have the ethical implications of it was a man.
Right. Most monster movies, it's this thing, and like most of the times its needs are basic, you know? Yeah. Eat, sleep, procreate. So if it's not going to eat you, and it's not currently sleeping...
Ooh, I don't like where this is going. Ooh.
But it just... The simplification of the...
It makes it really easy to, like, pull your audience in and be like...
Exactly.
Sympathize with our characters as they're struggling to survive against X.
Right, instead of, you know...
The creature from Planet X.
There's probably a movie from the 50s called that.
I'm sure I intentionally ripped off that kind of... I may have quoted it word for word.
You probably did, honestly.
So, that's what we like about those movies. What do we want to see more from? Like, do we want creature features? They haven't really gone away so much as sort of found their own... Evolved, which is ironic. But also, like, found their own niches, because now you've got giant kaiju movies, you've got smaller, like, Quiet Place horror movies.
Right.
What do we want to see coming from the future from our creature features? Do we want to get back to the bombastic and wild 80s and 90s, like, throw some words against a wall and be like, land shark, let's make a movie? Or are we looking for something else?
I kind of want a little bit of both, because you get like, I'm gonna say these words and know that every part of me is cringing. I want less Sharknado.
Oh. Yeah, that's...
I want more things that are like Monsters, the movie Monsters, or what was the other one? Super 8.
Oh, I love Super 8.
Yeah, the vague, like, it's here, it's doing its own, like, because in Monsters, one thing I liked is that, like, they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's causing problems for humanity, but they're doing their own thing. And, we're just that kind of interaction and unwitting, kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see the pitch now almost as like a sequel. You wouldn't have to, but like the next big kaiju movie, instead of the classic like Godzilla arrives to fight monsters and everything's okay afterwards, what would society have to turn into when you have giant kaiju as a regular part of...
Right, and that's I think that's probably why I like Monsters, is that, like, there's this whole block, like, this whole section of, like, America and, like, Mexico that you just cannot go in.
Yeah, just this quarantine area of...
And, like, every time, like, they have, like, migrations and all of that, and when they do that, you cannot be there. Or what was it? It was like mating season or implied or something, that these alien life forms.
Yeah. Almost like take the District 9 approach, but towards monsters.
Yeah, exactly. Like less like, more like us trying to just like live in a world where this is a common occurrence. But it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just there.
I could almost kind of see, like, you blend it a little bit with a little sci-fi, and, like, what if the idea is, like, a world that's been dominated by giant kaiju? Let's say this is a sequel to, like, The Last Godzilla.
Okay.
The King of the Monsters.
Right.
Where humanity has had to evacuate the planet into, like orbiting stations.
Okay.
But just overpopulation and limited resources put the kind of strain where it's like, we need to find a way to resettle.
That would,
and it'd be like, what would it look like when humans have abandoned the Earth and then have to come back to it, and the Earth has been dominated by kaiju for, 100 years or something like that.
Netflix actually made a series.
Did they? Oh!
Except it's literally Godzilla
Is
specific.
It really?
Yes.
Oh my god!
It's an animated one.
It's my first ever pitch that they've already made.
Yeah, it was an animated one. It was.
Is it any good?
I watched some of it. I enjoyed it. It was So basically, Godzilla came.
Did his Godzilla-ness.
Yeah. Took over the Earth. We abandoned it. We're living on, and we're like trying to head out. And then, something happens on this giant, like, colonizing ship that most of humanity is on. Like, there's multiple colonizing ships out there. And they come back to find that because of Godzilla taking over, like, the air is no longer breathable for us, and, like, all of the creatures have evolved based on this. It was interesting.
Okay, yeah. Because in my mind, I was pitching something like crossing between, like, Interstellar and Godzilla. That's what I love about animation, is that you can do anything with it.
Yeah, well, and it's really interesting because at one point you actually find out that, because not everybody, of course, was able to leave the planet. So there's, like, these evolved humans, like, they've evolved along different...
so there's still people on the planet?
There's people, like... there's humanoids.
But they're not regular humans anymore. They've adapted too.
Yes, yeah, to be able to breathe the atmosphere that is now toxic to regular humans. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, it was...
In my head, I was thinking, like, what if Pacific Rim was even more dire for humanity?
Right.
To the point where it wasn't just the Pacific Ocean. The world has fallen.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to know that that's already been made. And they did it with Godzilla.
Yeah, no, it was definitely interesting. Let me see if I can find the title of it, because it was a specific... Yeah, so Godzilla, the Planet Eater. So there's Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters. The second... Because it's movies. They're movies.
Oh,
so it's Godzilla 1, Planet of the Monsters. The second one, which is City on the Edge of Battle, and then Planet Eater. And yeah, it's 3 movies that are literally just along the lines where Godzilla... we've left Earth.
That's my first ever... We usually end an episode on a pitch. That's my first ever pitch that there's already something for. At least as far as I can tell. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that was my idea. Do you have something that you'd really want to see from a creature feature in the future? My idea apparently already exists. So I'm living in the perfect world. What is something that you want to see coming in the future?
I mean, if I'd like to see more interesting takes on the creature feature, like Stephanie, where you are walking into, you're expecting an actual monster, but then it's maybe not what you're expecting, it's...
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of films do something like that. Similarly, well, I don't know if I'd call it a creature feature. The Babadook does that, where it's you're expecting it to be like...
an actual force, an actual thing that you have to face down, than
like a representation of that grief. And
exactly, yeah, which is kind of what Stephanie did. It was like the worst parts of the personality, though, and it's also kind of implied that it's affecting like all children. It was definitely an interesting one. You'd have to watch, but yeah, I'm looking for more like off the wall kind of ideas. Yeah. Something, you're not expecting, where maybe it's a monster, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
maybe, the monster isn't as bad as you think because of other factors, that kind of thing. I want something off the wall. Yeah. Is really it. Like, the reason why, like, I feel like Bird Box or The Quiet Place is because
it took an interesting concept.
Exactly. Like, they're weird concepts, they're interesting concepts, but then it doesn't conform to what you're expecting.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of Pontypool.
Yes.
Where when you boil it down, it's essentially a zombie movie, but it's so unlike a traditional zombie movie.
Exactly.
To where it's set almost entirely within a radio station.
Right.
And you hardly see any monsters. It's all told through people calling in or them talking around.
Right.
And the concept of language being how the virus transmits.
Yeah, exactly.
Is super interesting.
I think if you do it, if it's well done,
yeah,
something like that could be really great. It can be something that sticks with you for a while in terms of monster movies. So yeah, something along those lines.
Cool. Well, I think that's all of our time. We had a pitch, but apparently it already exists, so we'll turn it over to you, listeners. Do you have a pitch for a cool creature feature? Reach out to us, let us know, and we'll be seeing you guys next week. Hey everybody, this is Nate with Nonessential Media again. I know, this guy? Just welcoming you to We the Fandom year 2020. Really excited to see what this year brings for us. One of the things we really want to do is expand this podcast, get in front of more people, and see if we can really foster a community. I'm really excited. If you are an active listener, I encourage you to be sharing it with your friends and anyone you know who's interested in just goofing off and talking about pop culture and the movies and books and games and the stuff that they love. I'm also really excited to announce our retcon inspired by the new New Mutants trailer, the film that I was certain we would never actually get to see, finally getting another release date, and a good chance that we'll actually get to see it this time. We're going to be retconning at the end of the month X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I know there's a lot that's been said about this movie, and we just wanted to give it our 2 cents and see if we can, instead of dragging it through the mud, see if there's a way that we can make it better. If you haven't already, check out our website at nonessentialmedia.com. We've got other great podcasts that are available to you. Lifecast and Beach City Crows are the first two that come to mind. I know that we're looking to expand in this year. I've got another podcast that I've been cooking up that I'm really excited to be announcing, hopefully very soon. And yeah, we'll be seeing you guys next week with another episode. Have a good one.